This week on Maker Update, more keys than a janitor's key ring, fluffy cat butts for the win, a Benchy in a bottle, and a really cool hinge. Hello and welcome back to Maker Update, the show where we do our best to find all the cool things that makers are making and share them with you so you can get inspired for your own projects. I'm Tyler Weingarter and I hope you're all doing great. Welcome to spring. We've got a fun show for you, so let's get started with the project of the week. In the world of DIY mechanical keyboards, most creators are trying to build smaller and smaller keyboards, but not Attoparsec. He's building a keyboard with over 1,000 keys. And each key represents a single word. The whole thing is a little like Randall Munroe's book, Thing Explainer. The idea here is to develop a corpus of the 1,000 most commonly used words, and then have a keyboard that just types those words out. And there's a lot of consideration around just what words to use. Should it be the most common words used in conversation, in written communication? In fact, the name of the project, A Keyboard with 1,000 Keys, is a play on that choice, since 1,000 didn't make the cut. The PCB design is also its own beast to contend with. He really wants this to be a single keyboard, not several keyboards working together and all sharing information, which means he needs to establish this as a single key matrix that's 17 rows tall and 60 columns wide. Since no one manufactures PCBs that large, that means he needs to break it up into 5 boards that all communicate with one another. The keycaps are another challenge. In past keyboard projects, he printed the keys out in resin and then filled the debossed lettering with resin putty. That's fine when making 64 keys, but less fine when making 1,000. Instead, he's using die sublimation transfer, using a silicone pad to press the die subsheet down into the concave surface of the keycap. Writing the firmware for the controller offered some tedious busy work, but opportunity for the addition of some Easter eggs in the form of how the modifier keys for intensifiers and superlatives modify various words. This is a huge project and an incredible journey with a ton of considerations. Check it out. Now for some news. If you're attending the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco this week, don't miss out on the opportunity to check out Alt.ctrl.GDC. This is a showcase of bite-sized experimental games that make use of their own unique controller, which can be anything from this modified rice cooker to take you through a spy fiction, an umbrella, a seesaw, or this giant replica of a cat's backside. We've covered the showcase a number of times in the past, and it's always a great time. And wonderful to see what happens when you combine interactive hardware with a fun game idea. You can get a preview of this year's exhibits by following the links down in the show description. More projects. I really enjoyed seeing this Benchy in a bottle by Derailed 3D. It seems simple enough, but this project involves a number of techniques that I haven't seen before. It begins with a simple Benchy printed in resin, along with this custom created bottle that's also printed in clear resin. But now comes the clever bit. Partway through the printing of the bottle, he paused the print and added the Benchy, suspended on a small piece of wire and hooked around the rim. I've seen stuff like this done with FDM printing, but never with resin. After curing, the bottle takes on a more frosted glass look, so you also get to see a number of techniques to return the clear resin to its polished, transparent look. And from Something About Science, we have a DIY piece of spycraft from the Cold War, a laser microphone. A laser microphone works by pointing a laser at a window and then catching its reflection with a photodiode. What this does is it turns a window into a microphone, since all the vibrations created by sound turn into small oscillations of the laser's reflection on the photodiode. I'm pretty shocked by how simple this whole circuit is. It's really just an amplifier circuit with the microphone trimmed off and the photodiode soldered in place. The tricky part is getting the laser, the window, and the reflection of the photodiode all aligned, but once you do, you're in business. The sound quality won't win any Grammys, but it's certainly clear enough to hear what's going on. Time for some tips and tools. From Izzy Swan, we have a video on some of the Workbench upgrades he's been using lately. Most of these upgrades are based around what are called MFT tables, which have this arrangement of dog holes for various fixtures. Most of those fixtures are held in place by this particular brand of expanding bench stock, which expand at the top and bottom for a more secure fit. Some of the fixtures are vacuum pads, and he's using a few different unlikely tools to pull the vacuum. Finally, he has these two tool holding arms that give you ready access to tools, but they take them out of your way when you're done with them. Great stuff for a high-functioning shop like his. Kampf has a number of these toolboxes where the lid lifts up, rests on top, and the whole thing becomes a tool cabinet. And it's all made possible by this special hinge that lets the lid lift past the handle. In this recent video, she shows how she reverse engineered the hinge so she can make more of these boxes on her own. The hinge uses a pair of linkage arms to guide the lid through its motion, but its secrets are hidden behind this circular part that eliminates pinch points. She works through a few different templates to make this repeatable and then shares it so that you can make your own. If you enjoyed Rachel Maksy's video from a few weeks ago, where she gave her friend's photo studio a medieval makeover, part of that process was thrifting a whole lot of props and then redressing them to make them work to that theme. And in this video, she's sharing a lot of her techniques for that. The magic of epoxy sculpt, the discovery of wood carving, turning this wreath into a Hobbit door wreath, and lots of other great stuff in here. And finally, Cleo Abram has a video from her recent behind-the-scenes tour of Disney Imagineering. Disney Imagineering is the team of people who create the props, environments, and interactions for the real-life environments of Disney theme parks. We've talked about a number of their developments, like these duckling droids. But the focus of this video isn't specifically stuff like how this lightsaber works, though she does cover that. Really, this video is all about how Disney uses technology to help make people happier. It's a good watch. For this week's DigiKey Spotlight, if you're reasonably handy around the home, you're probably familiar with one type of circuit breaker. But circuit breakers can be used in all types of electrical applications, big and small. And they all work pretty much the same way. When the circuit is overloaded or has a short, the breaker trips, disconnecting power to protect the rest of the circuit. You get to learn the difference between magnetic circuit breakers, thermal circuit breakers, thermal magnetic, and solid state, and the pros and cons of each one. All right, and that is going to do it for this week's show. Thank you so much for watching. A reminder, as always, you can get more info about every single one of these projects by following the links down in the description. While you're there, leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Huge thanks, as always, to DigiKey for making this show possible, and to you for watching. Take care. We'll see you soon.